Okay, so now I have the two layers. I'm going to focus on the shoreline layer that I've cleaned up, so I have only the coastline. And I'm going to create the buffer. A buffer is a polygon that is created around this line or around other polygons. And I do that by, I can ask for a buffer here. I'm going to buffer this input layer, which is that line that we spoke about. We're going to just do a distance of 1 degree. And this is the type of join that comes automatically. And I'm going to dissolve the results. How the buffer works is that it creates lots of little circles from points on the line. And what you're seeing is that circle with the radius. I want to dissolve it into a single polygon, so I'm going to write that and run it. So like I said, 1 degree is not exactly 100 kilometers. In Melbourne it's 111. By the time we get to Northern Australia, it gets bigger, smaller. Sorry, bigger. It takes a little while. And here's my new buffer. I'll put my coastline on top so I can see it better. Here's the buffer, and like I said, it goes 2 ways across to the offshore and inshore. I'll just use my measuring tool to see what I got. So I'm going to measure a line here, and it should be about 100 k's, and what I'm getting is that. Let's do it in kilometers. 113, yeah, that's what I'd expect around Brisbane, and around Melbourne. Could be a bit less, depends where I look. Yeah, about 111 kilometers is what we're getting here of a buffer inland. The next step is to crop this buffer with the shape of Australia, because we want to throw out all that ocean facing buffer. So I'm gonna first of all I'm gonna polygonize my line, which means I'm going to take this outline and create a big surface. I'll just get a shape file of the continent instead of the outline of the continent. I don't just want the perimeter. So I'm going to polygonize. There it is. And my input layer is the line. My output layer will be Australia continent. As a shapefile. It's going to run. Again, these things take a little while. What it's doing is it's connecting all the points one to another, and then creates a surface inside. So you can see it here. Here is my Australian continent. So I created a whole polygon out of a line. So you can just draw lines and make polygons out of them, just out of the outline. So I'm going to turn off. So right now you can see the buffer into the ocean from the Australian continent. So we already covered quite a few nice things. So the next step to do is, and I'll go here, is to intersect. What I want is to save the part of the buffer that intersects with the continent. So there are different geoprocessing tools I can use here. I can clip things, I can, which means I'm only saving the part that overlaps. I can dissolve things, which means I can make 1 polygon out of 2 polygons. I can just save the difference, things like that. I'm going to go to intersection, and I want to intersect the buffered area with the Australian continent. Okay. So you see, that's here. So we want to overlap the continent of Australia and the buffer. So that way we're only saving the inland buffer bit. Okay, so that will be a new layer we have, which it's still thinking about. Okay, see that's little, it's executing what we asked it to do. And it's going to be here somewhere. Here we go. Thinking pretty hard. Finished. So here's our new buffer that is an intersection of the old buffer and the continent of Australia. So here's my map, which involves the coastline of Australia, a buffer, and the Australian continent. I could put my population density on top if I wanted, and we can already see how much of Australia's population is in those buffer zones. Your next step is to use the statistics, the zonal statistics polygon, which you've already used, to try to work out how much of the population lives within my intersection. Within that, you can save those differently, right? And I can get that information now on the intersection. And you'll see these are things that came from the other layer.